Coinbase. Coinbase has just received a Wells notice by the SEC. Now, I did not know what a Wells notice was before this Wells notice happened. And let me know in the comments if you knew what a Wells notice was. But I never knew what a Wells notice was. Apparently, a Wells notice is the thing they send to a company before they're deciding to completely enforce a bunch of moves at you and start to really interrogate and audit your company. And this happened, warning the exchange that it identified potential violations of U.S. securities law. Now, let's read through this and then have a couple of interesting thoughts for why the United States might be doing this. The SEC issued crypto exchange Coinbase a Wells notice, warning the company that it identified violations of U.S. securities law. Coinbase shares fell nearly 12% in extended hours. Now I think it's up about 7% in pre-market trading. So the market's kind of bugging it off. Based on discussions with the staff, the company believes these potential enforcement actions will relate to aspects of the company's spot market, staking service Coinbase Earn, Coinbase Prime, and Coinbase Wallet. Coinbase said the potential civil action may seek injunctive relief, disgorgement, and civil penalties. And I believe this is relating to kind of some of the interest rates and staking services that Coinbase is able to provide to customers that park their money in Coinbase. A Wells notice is typically one of the final steps before the SEC formally issues charges. It generally lays out the framework for the regulatory argument and offers the potentially accused an opportunity to rebut the SEC's claims. Now, if we go to Brian Armstrong, who is an absolute stellar CEO, one of my favorite CEOs of all time, to be honest, he said, 2 years ago, the SEC reviewed our business in detail and approved Coinbase to go public. Our S1 clearly expanded our asset listing process and included 57 references to staking. Again, staking is when you kind of like, from my knowledge, and I'm not the most knowledgeable about this, but you put your crypto on an exchange, and then as a result of it, you can stake it, which means you can kind of make some interest off of it. Other people can use it in a different way. Again, I don't know the most about it, and I'll actually talk about why it's important that I don't know the most about it. But it's one of those things where you are able to use your assets to generate some returns on your assets, if I'm understanding it correctly. And the SEC approved back in 2020 when Coinbase went public at $250 a share. That was okay. Coinbase runs a rigorous asset review process and has rejected more than 90% of assets that have applied to be listed on the platform. It's funny because, Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, these obviously stupid shit coins were approved to be on. Even I remember in 2021, Coinbase was advertising to buy Dogecoin on Coinbase because it makes sense, right? Dogecoin was trending, but the fact that they approved it probably shows, what they actually cared about. While we understand that this is all part of the journey to reforming our financial system, we are right on the law, confident in the facts, and welcome the opportunity for Coinbase and by extension the broader crypto market to get before court. We are proud to stand up for our customers and industry in these moments. Going forward, the legal process will provide an open and public forum before an unbiased body where we will be able to make clear for all the SEC that has simply not been reasonable, fair, or even demonstrated a seriousness of purpose when it comes to engagement on digital assets. Now, why is this really interesting to me? Number one is that Coinbase, to my knowledge, has been one of the only crypto exchanges that has actually been compliant and dealt with regulations in a meaningful way. Pretty much every crypto company that I've seen, or every crypto company that I've heard of, has not been able to maintain the level of regulatory frameworks that the United States in particular and the SEC are compliant with. Binance, right? That's why they operate in a totally different country. FTX, obviously, we saw the collapse of them. Lots of other exchanges, it's very scary to kind of put your coins on them because you're just like, you don't know if you're going to be protected. You don't know if you can access someone. You don't know if you can even talk to customer service. Coinbase was one of the first crypto accounts I opened back in 2017. I put like $15 into Bitcoin. I still think the $15 are there, to be honest. And it's I was actually, that's when Bitcoin was going up to 20,000, and I was in my macroeconomics class, and literally my professor was like, "This is the dumbest thing ever. Don't buy it." And I was like, "Nope, that's why I got to buy it." Now I think he might have been right about that, but I, as a rebellious 20-year-old, I was like, "Well, I need to buy it now." My macro econ professor said it's stupid, but Coinbase has been one of those companies that has always been compliant. They've always been good. So for them to get a Wells notice, I think there's a little bit of a deeper issue for why they're getting a Wells notice here. And here's a little bit of my theory. And it's not that far out of a theory. It's something a lot of people believe in, but here's a little bit of the concept. If the United States feels that cryptocurrencies writ large are a threat to their agenda, are a threat to the US dollar, are a threat to the potential devaluation of the dollar, meaning if the dollar enters into some level of inflation or even hyperinflation based on the $300 billion we just printed and sort of the vertical printing of the money supply, if that's happening, and crypto, in particular Bitcoin, is the best reserve asset for people to stake their money into, would that be perceived as a threat? We know that Balaji Srivastava, the former CTO of Coinbase, has a public bet going on right now that he believes Bitcoin will reach $1 million in 90 days. And if it doesn't, he will lose $1 million. But his entire purpose of doing this like massive bet is to force people to recognize that like this is a bad thing that's going on with the Fed, and printing and high interest rates are not going to reduce inflation, and we are going to enter into hyperinflation, and Bitcoin is the only solution. Is there a world in which the United States sees information about hyperinflation that the rest of us don't have access to, or they feel that things are going to get bad before they get good, and they want to get rid of crypto, and the best way to get rid of crypto is to get rid of you outright ban it, or you get rid of the one exchange that has the most users and the most coins on their exchange, to be able to be unregulatory and not fit to be working with the SEC and a harm to consumers, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how we get crypto out of America. Now, I don't think that's necessarily happening, but it definitely makes you think. It definitely, because this SEC notice seems so out of the blue. It seems so ridiculous. I mean, Coinbase and Brian Armstrong have not been people that have tried to manipulate or do bad things. I mean, in general, promoting Shiba Inu or Dogecoin, I don't think violates the SEC laws. It's, just another asset that people are willing to buy for. And it's a little shady that Coinbase is promoting it because it's bad for consumers, but it's not necessarily illegal. And so the idea that Coinbase somehow now is not fit in the regulatory frameworks of what is required for crypto. I mean, this is not the first time the SEC has given them a trouble. About a month ago, Brian Armstrong went to Washington, D.C. to talk with politicians in Congress because the SEC was giving him even more problems, and they were thinking of potentially banning certain parts of their business. It makes you think, is there a world in which America is starting to not like crypto, and our freedom and our democracy is not liking the absolute freedom, the immutable freedom that Bitcoin offers, and there are some steps to potentially ban it? Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but it definitely makes you think. Overall, I think this SEC enforcement is probably not going to result in anything meaningful if Coinbase has some decent lawyers and they can fight it back. But the fact that they're even trying, like, this came out of the blue, this came out of absolutely nowhere, makes you wonder. Kathy Wood probably got tipped off. She sold 160,000 shares yesterday. 160,000 is a lot of shares. Coinbase has ran up, I think, to $83 because Bitcoin has ran up as well, up to 28,000. And when Bitcoin runs, Coinbase runs, because Coinbase makes a transaction fee off of trading crypto. So when crypto is up and more people are buying crypto, Coinbase is taking a percentage fee based on the current price. So if Bitcoin is $1, Coinbase doesn't make that much money off the trade. If Bitcoin is $60,000, then Coinbase makes a lot of money off the trade. And Brian Armstrong also sold 29,000 shares yesterday. So you were selling some shares, and then this letter comes out. So, I mean, someone might have tipped them off. But ultimately, I don't think anything happens. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Coinbase gets exposed? Do you think they get banned? And do you think there is some ulterior motive by the United States to now put this regulatory announcement on crypto and Coinbase?